carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
And welcome to the vast African wilderness, starting off with very dark and ominous skies on this safari. This is Safari Live.
Ready. Standing by.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live. And a very good afternoon to all of you, and welcome on our Sunset Safari. For those of you that have just joined us for the first time, my name is Jamie, and this afternoon VM is on camera with me, and we are coming to you live from a place called Djuma Private Game Reserve, which is in the Greater Kruger National Park area of South Africa. And because this is a live safari, that means that we can interact with you in real time. So send through your questions and your comments on hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or you can email through to questions@WildEarthTV. We've got all sorts of exciting things planned for you, but let me just explain this setup happening here. Now, I'd love to explain it to you in technical terms, but fortunately I don't understand anything about it, except for the fact that it does produce a very, very interesting 360-degree video. So that's the awesome thing about that. That is what's sitting on there. The little camera that sticks out at the top is basically transmitting, giving the guys an idea as to what sort of picture that ball is capturing. So it is a VR rig, essentially, a virtual reality rig. Some of you have seen it before. This is just slightly more advanced. There are bets going as to how long it's going to last. I say if it's a wild dog chase, 15 minutes, but other than that, I think it'll be alright. I think we've got quite good at keeping our VR intact. We never actually smashed our one. We scrapped it a few times. VM's going, Right, so our plan this afternoon is to move away from those dark, dreary skies and go off in search... No, fly. Go off in search of the spotted leopard that evaded Brent. Imagine if we found it this afternoon and he missed it in the morning. Can you just imagine? Well, that's what our plans are. In the meantime, it's not just Taylor and myself out here. The flies are biting my face. Let's go over to Tristan and see what his plans are for his bushwalk.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our Sunset Safari. My name is Tristan, and on camera today I've got Craig, and we are here on top of this termite mound at the moment, just admiring the view. There's this massive storm system that is blowing in from our western side, and it is really, really pretty from up here. So we're standing on quarantine clearings, and it's got this massive vista from up here that flows over the edge to the west, and then that storm building in the background. So what we're going to probably do in our walk this afternoon is we're not going to go too far just in case the rain comes, because if it rains we can't be out here for too long. So we're going to try and stay quite close, but we're going to go look around and see if maybe we can find an elephant herd to maybe approach on foot. That's going to be probably the first plan, and then we'll be looking for any insects. After all the rain that we've had recently, I'm pretty sure that we are going to have quite a few insects around, so I'm going to hope that there's going to be lots of them. I'm going to look out also for some frogs in some of the puddles, and then any little interesting tracks or anything that we can find that's been left over from the muddy conditions that we had the last few days. But I can tell you one thing, is that it is very sticky and very humid this afternoon. Herbie was just telling me now, so Herbie is with us as well. He was telling me that he's very hot already this afternoon, and just standing here it tends to feel very sticky, and like I said, it feels like the rain is about to come. So hopefully we will get some rain, but a little bit later after our walk. I don't really want to be wet on walk, so I'm hoping that it will wait until we're done with our 3-hour show. Now, I did see earlier a little dragonfly that I wanted to show you guys, but it seems to have disappeared. So I'm going to try and see if I can find it. And while we do that, let's go across to Tay, our African pygmy sister, and see what she's up to.
No, Tristan, I can't believe you even said that, but that's hysterical. And good luck with your search on the dragonfly. I hope that you are able to chase after it. Ooh, there's some rumbling in the distance. Well, that's a good way to start, and I think it's a great time to introduce myself there. My name is Taylor, and on camera with me this afternoon is Brian, and of course, the very sunny Thumb.
Now, the sun rays were short-lived.
What? Very nice. Will the sun Thumb be able to, well, burn and chase away the storm today? What do you think, Brian?
Maybe.
Maybe. Will it let out the light? I'm just thinking of Gandalf now, riding in as your thumb, bursting off a beam of light, chasing away the storm. That's probably not going to happen, though. In my wildest dreams it would. So we're out driving around, as you've seen with Jamie in the vehicle, and then you will with Tristan on foot as well. And it's very exciting to be out here. We're actually having bets, not real bets. We always just, it's bragging rights in camp as to who can predict when is going to arrive. I think VM said about 30 minutes, but that should have changed now. That should be he should be on about 15 minutes before he thinks the storm was coming. Hang on, I can hear the wheels. Now, if you have just started watching Safari Live, we welcome you, and we always encourage you to start making your own animal lists, because I promise you, once you watch us once, you will be hooked forever. So make a bird list. Perhaps this is your first bird that you've seen, and this is a southern yellow-billed hornbill having a scratch. So pop it on your list if it hasn't got there. And even with the mammals that we're seeing, the insects, the snakes, the frogs, make lists. It's just really exciting, and it's a nice little challenge for yourself to see how many you can tick off after watching the various shows. Now, the thunder is rumbling, and it's getting, well, louder and louder, but there's not a breath of wind at the moment. Nothing has really changed too much since this morning, other than the sun came out, and then, well, the clouds have come back over again, but it's very hot and humid. And we're going to try and find a gap through here. Nope, that's not going to work. I think we'll actually have to head on a little bit further. But the distance looks very, very gloomy. Oh, this is a lovely spot again too. Went through a little cold pocket of air. And we're obviously hoping to find some elephants. So we're looking for elephants, but I think we're looking in the wrong spots at the moment, because I haven't really seen any signs of an elephant just yet. No footprints, and not even an impala. Oh, I lied. We've got impala. Hi guys, thank you. And warthogs! Look at the warthogs, Brian. I think it's actually the same family that we had yesterday during the sunset safari on the school drive. It is too. It's exactly the same family, and all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little piglets are still here. Wonderful. How wonderful is that? I think that is quite great. Now that we know where they live, as well, we can come and visit them. We'll try and visit them as often as we can, because we know how relaxed they are. I'm quite far away from them, so we'll let them carry on, and as they move through the long grass, we'll go further, and then we'll catch them again. I don't want to startle these little piggies. Look how they just disappear in the grass. Put your tails up so we can see where you're going, because that's what they use those little tails for. When they poke them up towards the skies, is of course as a follow me sign. Right, let's go further forward. Let's see if we can get a better view. So we're starting the habituation process with the warthogs. They were very well behaved yesterday, and I think they'll be fine today too. Let's see. Impala, I know we will get back to you. We'll promise we'll make up for the time. I feel a little bit bad because I said, oh, there's the Impala. And then I just thought that the warthogs were more exciting, and they are, because they look like they're about to go for a little swim. Now you just pretend. Here we go. Look how cool that is. Look at them in the water. Oh, Jamie's looking for me. Standing by, Jamie. That is a very good question. Just at the brown and ivory at the moment. I'm probably going to go check Twin Dams. So I might go on Gari Main. Just chatting to Jamie. Copy, thank you very much. There you go. So just chatting with Jamie quickly. We're changing plans a bit. Jamie's going to follow up on those leopard tracks that Brent had earlier this morning. So we'll go down and check the southern sector, but not until these warthogs disappear, because isn't this lovely? Now, I hope that they come back into the water, because that was a quick little swim, I suppose. They are feeling probably just as hot and humid as what we are feeling today. And you can see the little ones are a little bit on edge, watching us very carefully. But both female warthogs, both the adults, are not bothered by us at all. They're eating, and eventually those little ones will sort of rub off on their parents' behavior, and then they'll be relaxed with us. They won't be bothered by us at all. That's good. That's a good sign. Look at this. They're feeding now, still cautious, still looking at us. It sounds like there's a magpie shrike that's shouting. Might be a youngster begging for food. In case you were wondering what that noise is in the background. Oh, hello little one, you're using the luxury facilities, that's wonderful. And something that is so prominent when looking at these little piglets is those white tufts of hair that are sticking out of the side of their face. And as they get older, that sort of hair doesn't always stand, I don't think it stands out as much as it does when they are younger, because they start to develop tusks. And then there's really no need for those feathery tufts of hair. But at a young age like this, they are vitally important for these little piglets. Because if something like a leopard or even a lion were to spot them in the distance, they would see those and they would see them as weapons. They would think that they are big tusks, which indeed we know that they're not. But it's a good way to try and fool a predator and almost deter them from actually coming after you. I'm hoping they're going to go back in the water. Come back out again. Because that's a favorite thing of a warthog to do, just as much as it is for a buffalo to wallow in the mud. You'll often find warthogs, there we go, sitting in the little jacuzzi. Oh, that's so nice. Oh, and that is the happiest you'll ever see a warthog, is laying in the water like that. Come on, little one, in you go. No, not too sure about that. But Mrs. Warthog, you must remember to jump out when the lightning comes about, because you don't want to be zapped by lightning while you're sitting in a mud wallow. I don't imagine that that would be a fun way to go. But isn't this amazing? Our little favorite, well, these are my favorite warthogs now. And I suppose they're only my favorite because they're the ones that don't run away from us when they see us. So this is lovely. Hey, Brian, perpetuating the next generation of warthogs. Now remember, we're on a live safari at the moment, so please send through any questions you have about these warthogs, or, well, just anything about going on safari. And you can get hold of us by either hashtagging Safari Live to the end of your question on Twitter, or if you don't have a Twitter account, that's not a problem. You can pop us an email, questions@WildEarthTV. And we'll be so happy to have a chat with you on this fine afternoon. I don't think that this is a bad way to start your afternoon sunset safari, is with warthogs wallowing in some mud, especially that the piglets are present. Oh, look at this. She's decided that she's had enough of a wallow, and she's going to munch now on some grass. And they'll multitask like that. If they can, pop their heads out of the water and feed as well. They're not going to waste any time. They're going to eat as much as they will. Now, where are you going now? You can't make up your mind. Ah, there we go. Report Globe. You were wondering if warthog piglets cross-suckle. That's actually a very good question. I've never seen piglets sort of allo-suckling with another female. I don't know if they would. Maybe some of you know. Is anybody... I'm just trying to think. From just observing, I've never seen it, and then I haven't actually come across it when I've been ever reading about warthogs, but I could be mistaken, of course. And as you know, nature writes its own stories out here in the bush, so I think anything can happen. They're very nervous of us, those little ones. They're always checking on us, just making sure we're not trying to creep too close, which is not a bad thing. You've got to be cautious when you ask a warthog, and so many things want to eat you. Now, we've seen these two big sows together. The one that's closest to us at the moment, she looks like the younger one. And then the older one, obviously you can tell by the size of her tusks, she's much larger in body size, and then as well as those tusks. And Jackie, you're wondering if they could possibly be related. Maybe. This could easily be the offspring, an older daughter of this female. Though warthogs can be quite gregarious. I mean, you go into the Kruger National Park and you see big groups of warthog. In the Eastern Cape, they're a huge pest. And I'm just trying to think, off the top of my head, like a common size of warthog or group of warthogs, we'd often see like 10 together. But that could also vary from region to region, and also depending on the predator populations, I suppose, as well. But they're considered a pest, and they'll completely decimate areas. So big family groups, if it does allow for them to live in groups, then they will. This is just obviously mom, and I would say that it is her daughter from a previous litter. Sure. That magpie shrike that is making a lot of noise. I wonder if it's maybe not sitting on a nest, or like I said, maybe a young for food, but that thing hasn't stopped. Yes, little piggies staring at us. Oh, what was that? Was that lightning?
It was lightning, yeah.
Did you see that? That's what gave these pigs a fright. I don't know if you saw the flash of white come across the screen, but that was indeed a lightning that you just saw, and it gave those pigs a fright. I think we must move away from this area. So we're going to start heading a little bit further away from these low-lying clouds. But we're going from the ground up into the tree now with Tristan.
Indeed, Taylor. We are standing here and we've come slowly walking along, and I was just having a look around, and there's a big tree just to my right hand side here called this sickle bush, and I was watching the tree as I was walking past and noticed a very interesting part of it. Now if you have a look, the tree is quite grey in appearance, and then low down on the branches it's almost got a much browner look to it. And so what's happened here is probably during the drought, that because there was so little grass around in this area, the termites have come and actually fed off the bark and tried to get to that cambium layer. Now any of you that were watching this morning, I know that Taylor was talking about cambium layers, but for those of you that didn't see, the cambium layer is the transport system for this plant. So it sits underneath this grayish colored bark, and it basically takes the nutrients from the roots up into the leaves and back again. But growing on the trunk of this tree itself now are two little look like mushrooms. I'd imagine they're a type of fungus that has started to grow. Now that fungus would never have been able to have started to grow on this tree had it not been exposed by termites. So indirectly, the termites have allowed for a growth of a different plant to continue, even though they've destroyed that particular branch. If we come out, you'll see that all of these branches around that particular trunk have all died and broken. They've become dry and devoid of leaf structure. So even though that particular part of the tree is dead, the fungus is now taken over, and so there is still some living organism taking over. Pretty incredible to see how nature works, and how even though destruction can lead to sometimes a bit of growth. The other interesting thing about this tree is that as I stand here, you can see all these lower branches here have very little leaves. So some of them are not attached to that dead trunk, some of them are part of a living plant, but it shows you very clearly the browse line that we get. So what's happened here is this has been certain animals coming to eat, so things like nyala, kudu, bushbuck, and impalas have all come and fed off here, and you can actually see the height that they've reached, that they were able to feed at, and then the top levels have not been touched nearly as much because those animals can't reach up there. It's a pretty cool indication of the type of animals that we've been seeing in this area over the last few weeks. Out here on quarantine clearings, most of what we see is impalas, so that will be what's eaten here, which is very, very nice. Now, Herbie has told me that he's found the tree of life. So he says there's the tree that's just up ahead of me that's got a whole bunch of insects on it. So I'm going to go and investigate what's on there and see what we can find. And while we do that, let's go across to Jamie, who's got some little creatures in the trees.
It sounds as though Tristan's got exciting prospects for insects in his tree, whilst we have a series of primates all gathered together in the various trees around us, and our entire troop of Twin Dams monkeys has arrived to have a look and see what we're up to. Now, of course, this is the troop of monkeys that has two utterly adorable little ones, and I haven't seen them yet. This is still quite a young one, munching on a leaf and having a jolly good scratch. That, I think, is the male. from what I can see, or one of the dominant males. And it's all happening here at Treehouse Dam. The impala have stopped. Look at this one. How comfortable does that look? And stretch. Feel that pull right down into the hamstring. Take it to an 8. Pull your feet back. There we go. Perfect hamstring stretch. And calf. And next leg. No, you've got to stretch both sides, monkey. Else you're going to be feeling very uneven. It's so comfortable. That's definitely all happening here at Twin Dams. We've got monkeys, we've got a herd of impala. Feels like we've got every single impala on Djuma. Appears to have gathered either here or a little bit further to the north of us. And there's some grunting happening as the females attempt to reunite with their offspring. Oh, of course they all go quiet. They spent the last 5 minutes making a racket, and then as soon as I mention it, they all go silent. Oh, my apologies, Report Globe. Yes, they were indeed vervet monkeys. I'm so sorry. I didn't specify. They were vervet monkeys. It's the only diurnal primate that we get apart from chukma baboons, which we also see quite regularly. Here comes little one. Bounce, bounce. Must be so much fun to be able to climb a tree like that. Whoop. Slipping and sliding. So yes, vervet monkeys. Yes, little one. Where are your little cousins? I want to go and see some baby monkeys. Yes, talking about you. Seems as though it's been a day of babies. And of course there's the exciting hyena den find. Now we've got baby monkeys peering at us. So cute. They're such photogenic little creatures. Yeah, the impala start grunting as soon as I start talking. Hello. Yes, we see you. Must be tough when you're that small and you can't see over the grass. Yes. So tiny. So yes, it's a troop of vervet monkeys that we see relatively regularly at Twin Dams, so we become quite familiar with them. And before they run off, I'm just going to move forward a bit so I can show you the warthogs that are on the other side of the dam. I know you've been spending a bit of time with warthog already this afternoon, so we're not going to focus on them for too long, as lovely as they are. There we go. A female and 2 little ones. Beautifully relaxed. And then the sound of the belching impala to keep us company. It really does sound as though they're belching. They're not. They're contact calling to their offspring. It's the females, it's the ewes that are making that noise. And gathered together. Each of them particularly careful about approaching the water's edge. There's one brave little boy over there who's come down to have a drink. And of course we know that they have very good reason to be so cautious, having seen the sudden appearance of Boris in this particular waterhole. I don't know where Boris is. I don't think he's here anymore. He moved to the north quite a while ago. But you never know. And impala certainly never know, so their natural instinct is to approach the water with supreme caution. Make sure that they're not about to become a crocodile's next meal. So very, very cautiously tiptoeing around the edge. And it always takes 1 or 2 of them to have to be brave before the rest of the herd will join them. There's another monkey clambering through the thorns in the buffalo thorn, now eating the berries that I've seen all of the buffalo thorns are sporting. Perhaps Tristan might snack on some during his bushwalk this afternoon. If the monkeys haven't eaten them all, of course. Now, of course, we've got the ominous rumble of thunder. It's not just the impala belching away. There's the ominous rumble. And Reese, you want to know if during a lightning storm there's a risk for monkeys in trees? Yep, absolutely there is. I'd have to get quite unlucky, obviously, pick the wrong tree. Sorry, just distracted by Taylor. Interesting update, but I'll leave that for her to keep you updated. Sorry, yes, it is possible. Animals die in lightning storms, particularly giraffe, and especially in sort of high-felt areas where there's less cover, which means that they are one of the tallest things out there, and obviously that attracts them as a point of interest. But I once came upon a very gruesome scene of 10 dead impala that had picked the wrong tree to stand under, and that tree had been struck by lightning and left a pile of corpses in its wake. It was quite a distressing, quite macabre scene to have encountered. So lots of creatures can get struck by lightning out here. It's just a matter of being unlucky. And lightning is very, very dangerous. It's not something any of us play with, which is why I'm also sticking relatively close to home, so that if we need to, we can race back to the safety of being indoors. It's one thing the fact that we are on 4 rubber wheels, or tires, but I would very much prefer not to be struck by lightning in an open vehicle with a large lightning conductor positioned behind it. So the impala have to be careful where they go and stand, and I think that might be one of the reasons for their slightly peculiar behavior this afternoon. They're a little bit disorderly and a little bit scattered. There goes our berry eater, going off to catch up with the rest of the troop. I think we might need to do some repositioning just to see whether or not we can get a better view of them and perhaps catch up with one of the babies. So as I attempt to start the vehicle and take it from there, let's go and have a look at Tristan and his tree of life.
Well, Jamie, I know how it is with Rusty. Rusty can be a little bit of a funny one sometimes, so I've also had that problem the other day. But yes, we have come across this tree. It is absolutely incredible how many different species of insects are currently on it at the moment. We have got wasps, butterflies, flies, ants, moths. What else have I got here? Assassin beetles. We've got... what else have we got? There was also another... pirate flies, we've got them. But if you have a look on this particular section here, you can see the flowers are just starting. So probably the most obvious one that we see is a very bright green beetle that's walking around with very long antenna, and that's called a longhorn beetle. And that particular one is really, really pretty. It's got that bright emerald green back. It's a pity there's no sun shining, because if there was a little bit of sun, it would be quite incredible to see those colors. Those greens really start to pop and become very iridescent, and then you can see it's got those black and yellow banded antenna, which are really, really pretty as well. And so everything that's on here is here because of the flowers at the moment. So after that rain that we've had, this tree is now starting to flower, and everything is coming to get the sweet nectar. You can see there's a multitude of flies landing in there. There's some ants, and the cotton stainer assassins, which are right at the back on this side over here. So we were doing some work on cotton stainers this week in the tent, and I was talking about them, and we put them under the microscope and we saw that tiny little one. So that's what hunts cotton stainers. And then there's a very interesting moth in here that I've actually never seen before. There's a little black and yellow spotted moth that is just cruising through the flowers on the other side there. So that is a new one for me. I've never ever seen that, and I'm really looking forward to going back and having a look and trying to identify which one it is. Seen a lot of moths out here, but never that particular one, so that's really cool. And then the most amazing thing is that inside some of these little flowers is a tiny little beetle. So if we have a look here, there's a fly that's walking over, but just inside that flower over there is a tiny beetle that has wedged itself in and is busy feeding off the nectar. It's really, really small. These flowers are absolutely minute. Like I say, if you see what my finger looks like in comparison to the flower, you can actually see how small that little beetle is in there. And that's its little bum poking out. So it's busy feeding off the nectar inside this tiny flower. Isn't that incredible? So, Anna, you're wondering if all the species of beetles that are on here are able to fly. Well, 90% of them are. The only thing on here that's not able to fly is the ants. Alright, so the ants are the only ones. The moths, the butterflies, the longhorn beetle, the pirate flies, they're all able to fly and can move around quite easily. And so that's why they've come here, is because they've been able to pick up the nectar, and they've then come and landed. Once they've utilized this and the flowers have bloomed and they no longer provide an ample food source, they can then fly to the next one. So winged insects are very common when you've come across flowers. It's very seldom that you'll find insects that move along the ground. It's easy for them to be picked off by predators, and they have to then cross open spaces. So the ants are really the only ones that you often see that are not wing-based on a flower system like this. There's also another moth that I wanted to point out, just because it's one of my favorites, and I haven't seen too many of them before this year. This year they've been really quite prominent, but I don't know if Craig's going to be able to see this one. It's here at the bottom of this flowery section, so I've just disturbed it, unfortunately, but it's called a speckled footman, and the coloration is absolutely unbelievable. They have these reds and whites and black little spots all over them, and like I say, prior to this year I really hadn't seen too many of them. So I'm just trying to stabilize the leaf so it doesn't fly with the wind. But isn't that incredible? This tree must have the most number of species that I've seen in a long time. There is absolutely everything on here. So I'm going to try and pick through them and see what other interesting little things we can find. And while we do that, we're going to go across to Jamie, who sounds like she's got the mega herd of impalas.
Do indeed, although our mega herd has dispersed somewhat. All of them were gathered on the top of the Twin Dams dam wall, gathered together. There were a great deal more earlier, but most of them have now started moving towards the water itself. I'm just going to apologize in advance because there's something in the air that has set off my allergies, and I've just sneezed 20 times in a row. Oop, careful girl. Is her leg okay? Or is it just the way she's standing? Is she just being careful in the mud? That looks like a very weird bend that she's got going on there. Let's just see. I mean, it's her finger joints, so it's bending the right way. I think it's just... Oh, no, that doesn't look right at all. Oh, shame. That's badly broken. That is very badly broken. She is not going to survive with that, I don't think. That's not going to heal. Oh, shame. Always horrible to see an impala with a broken leg. It does happen. It just takes one. Ouch. Oh gosh, that's making my leg hurt in sympathy. It just takes one misplaced foot in mud trying to run away, and they can really easily tear the tendons and break the bones of that leg. And that is going to put her at serious risk. If wild dogs come through here now, if Karula were to come through here now, I know that Taylor's been tracking her. That is definitely, she's just going to be so much slower than the others. Shame, poor girl. You can see she still looks in good condition. She's munching away. She's full-bellied. She looks good. But that is a really painful injury. That leg is so misshapen. Sorry, girl. Ouch. It's never pleasant to see animals like this. For our new viewers, we don't ever interfere in a situation like this with an impala with a natural injury. We leave the vast wilderness, we let the vast wilderness handle herself in the way she always has done. It's her way of keeping numbers down, keeping numbers under control, but it's never nice to watch. Shame, girl. Oh. And this weather is closing in, slowly but surely. Sure, it is very ominous looking. Okay, I'm just going to quickly check around here and just see whether we can give Taylor a hand with those leopard tracks. I wonder whether there isn't a chance that Karula's somewhere around here. Alright, I think it's time to go back to Tristan and to find out what creatures he's found on his tree of life.
So we found some more, but these are the more sinister kind. This is a type of jumping spider, and you can see it's sitting on the branch and is busy waiting. Now these spiders are often ones that target the pirate flies that we were talking about earlier, and I know there are one or two pirate flies that are stuck in bits of web that I'll try to find for you on this plant, but this is the exact spider that is busy doing the damage. So it's sitting there in wait, and it's concealing itself at the base of the leaf, and as the flies are landing and coming close to the flowers themselves, they're getting trapped in the web that it's spun close to those flowers. So really clever spider, and it is an incredibly beautiful one. That bright red coloration is amazing. I actually haven't seen too many jumping spiders like that before, but that one is really cool. So it just shows you that these plants, even though it's a single standing plant, there is a whole war raging on here. So the plant is being attacked, the insects that are landing and feeding, and then there's these spiders that are coming in and also trying to feed off this abundance of food that is now available for the next few days on this plant, because ultimately these flowers are not going to last for long. Within a week or so, we're going to end up with a situation where this whole plant is no longer flowering, and all of this biodiversity and all of these creatures that are utilizing it are going to dissipate and disappear, and then there's going to be nothing left on this tree, which is pretty insane. So it's quite an amazing thing to find, and there's a number of different moth species on here that I've also never seen, so there's all kinds of things. I reckon we could probably spend an entire afternoon just trying to ID all the insects that are on here, which is amazing. But we're going to carry on. I've gotten some photos of some of these, and I'm going to try and see if I can ID some of them. Like I say, that one moth, the yellow and black one, should be relatively easy. If we can just pull up some sort of picture on Google, we'll maybe be able to ID that one. Now our plan is that we're going to head a little bit towards the storm, which sounds silly, but we're going to head in that direction, and then we want to just run along a riverbed system, and I want to see if maybe some of the elephants are maybe starting to go into that in preparation for the storm. It seems like the storm is going to swing and maybe miss us, so I'm hoping that's the case, and then we're going to go a little bit further south and see if we can maybe help the girls with any signs of leopard a little bit later. So, James, you're wondering what is the primary use of the antenna for the longhorn beetle and why they're so long? Well, antenna in any insect is helped to detect certain parts of their environment. So it's able to detect many different things. It's often very sensory, so they can detect predation, they can detect food from that, and so that's why it will be like that. And those longer antennae will just help it probably find food a lot easier than some of the other insects, and that's why it's a little bit longer. You'll find that it's also in relation to the size of its body is just a little bit more amplified, because it is. There's a lot of insects out here that have varying adaptations that are just the way that they are. So, but I would imagine that it's more for a food source than anything else. They are very sensitive, those antennae, and so they'll be picking up lots of little particles and pheromones, and they'll be able to then know that this is where the tree is and where the food that they need to find is. So longhorn beetles, you'll often find them being one of the first to plants like that. They'll often move and go to those plants before any of the other insects, so that's probably why, is because of that. Now, like I say, we're going to walk along and see if maybe there's some tracks that we can find of elephants and see if there's any sort of signs of them in this area. There was elephants everywhere yesterday afternoon and this morning, and so it would be really nice to catch up with some of them on foot. I haven't actually had any elephants on foot in quite a while, so I'm quite keen to go and see if I can find some and do a very nice approach onto them. And this is the perfect kind of place to do it, where you've got a little bit of a thicket that runs along a nice open section. So if you can get the elephants coming out into the open, then you've got lots of cover to be able to watch them from. So that is the plan for the rest of the afternoon, I think. What do you think, Craig? Good idea? I think so too. That's a very interesting question. I think it would probably scare Craig more to have an antenna with lightning around than it does me. But yes, lightning on foot is a very scary thing, and elephants on foot are probably a little bit scary too. But for me, I would say lightning is far more scary. At least with an elephant, you often have a chance to be able to see where it's going to go and move and position yourself accordingly and get yourself into the right position that you don't disturb that animal. Whereas lightning, you have no idea. It just strikes and that's the end of that. So it's a little bit of a case of you can't see it coming, you can't do anything about it. So I'd rather take on elephants any day of the week than lightning. So we certainly are going to watch this western horizon. If we start to see lots of lightning raining down, then we're probably going to start moving back towards the camp and maybe the safety of the tent, because no one wants to be struck by lightning, and I certainly don't want to strike Craig or have our Batman struck by lightning. So we'll definitely try and avoid that at all costs. Sorry, Lou, I didn't hear you. If you can just go again. Sorry, our comms are a little bit bad this afternoon, so I'm struggling to hear Luge. I know she mentioned something, but I couldn't hear. Alright, so we're going to carry on, and we're going to see what we can find. And while we do that, let's go across to Jamie and see what she's got for us.
I'm amazed at everybody's confidence in the sheer lightning repellent abilities of that tent. I, for one, I'm not 100% convinced that it is that lightning proof myself, but anyway, we absolutely want to play it as safe as possible with the lightning. The good news is I've taken 2 allergy tablets that I found in the first aid kit. I've never taken this particular brand before, so if I start slumping over the steering wheel, that's why. Should be fine. I'm sure it will be fine, but just to let you know, just to warn you in advance, if I fall asleep while I'm live, VM's promised to let me know. And we are off since Taylor is currently occupied. She's hit a little bit of an attack of the gremlins, and so is busy trying to sort that out, but she's also found fresh tracks for Karula, which is very, very good news. I know that there's lots of vehicles helping her follow up. So we've made our way out of the area, and I'm going to go along to a viewpoint just to show you the storm and the amount of rain that it is currently dropping over an area known as Bushbuck Ridge, which is a mountainous pass between us and a large city called Nelspruit. We're going to have a look at that and see on our way towards where those last leopard tracks were. VM, you know where the last leopard tracks were, don't you? Perfect. Well, okay. I'm sort of hoping it is Mvula. That would be very nice. I have not seen a Mvula in a very, very long time. Now, there's of course the distinct possibility it could be Tingana, it could be Djuma. It's kind of a bit of a combined area, that one. But I'm hoping for Mvula. I have not seen him since he was sharing the kill with Sindile. That's how long it's been. And I don't even know when that was. Must have been about July, August. Sure. So many. I'm sure there weren't this many bronze-winged coursers around last year. I'm sure I would have remembered that. This year seems to be the year of the bronze-winged courser. Lovely little bird, so I'm not going to complain. Hey, you're nocturnal, go to bed. Go to bed. Or perhaps do you know something I don't about the weather? And you know that tonight is not going to be feasible to go wandering around. Bob. We still have yet to match the bronze-winged courser sighting with the chicks. That was also with VM and myself, and they were like little bobbleheads, bopping up and down. I haven't seen bronze-winged courser chicks yet. This actually might be quite cool. I'll try and show you the amount of rain that is landing over Hoedspruit and over the Drakensberg and Bushbuck Ridge. Sure, it is bucketing down over there. Somebody mentioned that Nelspruit is a bit is experiencing a really serious storm. Nelspruit's probably about 2 hours drive from here, and apparently Johannesburg has had something like 300 mils of rain this afternoon. So we'll wait and see exactly how this plays out, but it's getting darker and darker and more ominous. We'll know as soon as the wind picks up. When the wind picks up, we want to make sure that we're nice and close to home. And just by the way, an update on those monkeys. They all ran away. They completely disappeared. And don't forget to send through your questions and your comments on #SafariLive on Twitter, or you can email through to questions@WildEarthTV. Now, of course, the most exciting thing to happen to me this morning was the return of the hyena cubs in the form of 2 little bundles of fluff. Not quite fluff, actually. They were quite... both of them are quite bald. But 2 little bundles of spotted hyena joy at the Philemon's Cutline Den. I said to Taylor that she must go and enjoy them this afternoon, since we spent an hour and a half with them this morning. I think she might enjoy seeing hyena cubs once again, because I think the hyenas had disappeared by the time Taylor started working here. So it must be a very long time since she's had a chance to spend time with hyena cubs. And she can go and enjoy them. We'll go search for male leopards. Apparently you're quite excited about the prospect of seeing Mvula. Am I correct in saying that we haven't seen him since... Well, I know that was the last time I saw him. Have we seen him since that on our live safaris, or have we not? I mean, obviously we've seen photos and videos of him. He seems to keep skirting. He's often in Buffelshoek, and then he'll move through Torchwood. There was that sighting where... Oh! She's going to run away. I'm going to have to stop here. That is a big leopard tortoise. There are some seriously large ones around. Hello, girl. I assume girl just by her size. The females tend to grow slightly larger. Look at her go. That is an impressive lady. Decades old. I don't know exactly how old, but decades old. Just judging by her size. And she's probably almost roughly the size of a small watermelon. A small watermelon. Not one of those genetically engineered monsters. I'm doing what tortoises so often do with us, which is immediately disappear into the thickest, longest grass they can possibly find. Now, a large female like that probably lays somewhere in the region of between 15, even possibly 20 eggs. So the larger they are, the more eggs they can lay. It might be time to start seeing the next generation of tortoises. We've seen a few babies recently. I would try and show you more of her, but she's completely vanished. Disappeared completely. I feel as though the storm is now dissipating. Oh no, it's just behind me. Let's take bets on when it's going to hit. Viam, when do you think? Half an hour. I think it's only going to hit a bit later. Well, we'll see. I think it's going to hit at about 8 o'clock tonight. Let's go and find out what Tristan thinks about when the storm is going to hit us.
Well, I think I'm on the side of Viam at this stage. As we've been walking, the storm is just getting closer and closer and closer, and it really feels like it's almost on top of us now. So I would be with Viam. I reckon within the next 30 minutes we're probably going to get hit by it. Even Herbie has agreed. The storm was traveling north around us, and it was seemed to be going away, and it's now turned and it's shifting straight back east and coming straight over us. So you can see the clouds are starting just to come over, and I reckon we're going to get rained on fairly shortly, which is not ideal. So we've changed our route a little bit. We know we're going to go towards the storm a little bit and down to a little riverbed, but we're going to head a little bit further south and just try and get around the storm a little bit and try and stay out of it and stay on the walk as long as possible. Now, while we were kind of walking along, I was just thinking about that tree and all those insects and everything on it, and it reminded me of a time that I was in the Kalahari. We were in the Kalahari about 2 years ago in January, and it was excessively hot. Now, for those of you who don't know where the Kalahari is, it's in the northwestern side of South Africa, and it's a desert, and so it gets really, really hot in the summer months. And last year it was a drought there too, so there'd been no rain, and the temperatures were going above 120, 130 degrees Fahrenheit. It was crazy hot. And so we were driving around one morning, and it was really quite quiet, and everything was just being baked by the sun, and you could see some of the animals were hiding in a little bit of shade, and we hadn't seen too much. And we got to this one area, and there was this tree, and it reminded me just like this of this tree. There was just a hive of activity around the shady tree, and there was a little bit of water that was seeping up from underneath the tree, and there was mice and birds and insects, and everything was congregating around this tree. And it was just so incredible to see in this vast landscape of absolute absolutely nothing and desolation to have this one little tree with everything around it. And we spent the better part of about 4 hours around this tree taking photographs of all the birds and all the activity that was happening there. So that was really, really cool. And I reckon that tree is much the same. You could spend hours walking around that tree and identifying all these different little insects. It was actually quite difficult because every time we were trying to focus on an insect, another one would come into the frame and kind of get a bit of a jumpy syndrome where you just jump from one thing to another. But it was really, really cool to see. Now, I believe Jamie says she was going to track male leopard. Well, that would be really cool to see if it was Mvula. I would love to see him as well, so hopefully Jamie does come right. It would be nice to have Mvula back again. He's been a long time since we've seen him, and I've been fortunate enough to have followed Mvula since 2011, so I've seen him quite a bit. I've even seen his mother, so it would be nice if he was back in the area. He's one of my favorite males. Sorry, Lou, I was busy chatting there. I didn't hear the question. If you can just go again with that. So, Rebecca, you want to know if insects drown in the rain? Well, some of them will. Insects that are not designed to be near water will often get caught up a little bit. So things like dung beetles. I watched a dung beetle yesterday, funny enough, rolling its ball, and it didn't quite judge where it was going, and it ended up rolling right into a big deep puddle, and it sat on its ball like it was marooned on an island for a while. But there are one or two that might get flushed away with water, especially if water's moving quite fast. But most insects on their legs will have some sort of fine hairs that come off. Now, those hairs will help to spread their surface area, and often that will be enough for them just to sit on the surface tension of the water and be able to float there until they get to dry land, and they can then move on. So I don't know if you've ever seen at home, if you have a watery area, often there's insects on top of that, and that's that reason, is those legs have those very, very fine hairs that will able to break the surface tension and allow them to stay up above water and not sink down to the bottom. But yes, there will be some. You often find it does happen with raging torrents. As soon as water comes flying through, then those insects often get caught in that, and then they go, particularly the beetles and those insects that are not used to it. And then any insects that are below ground, you'll find in heavy rain will start coming up. So crickets, locusts, termites, if they start to get flooded, then they start shifting up to the surface, and then they don't maybe get flushed away by water and drown, but they're then very badly exposed to birds of prey or to any sort of predatory bird that could be around. They'll then hunt them and kill them. So I suppose water indirectly then does kill them, but generally they're pretty good with staying out of trouble. You'll find that they'll go into some sort of thicker vegetation and try and be away from it. I know Brent this morning actually, funny enough, had termites all out on the top of the ground, and he was watching a Batelier eagle eating the termites. Now, Batelier eagles generally are carrion feeders, so they feed off meat and carcasses or dead animals, and they've just made a chance, or had a chance now, to get these termites, and so they've eaten them, and utilizing that protein rich source that's available that normally isn't available to them. So it just shows you how these animals are able to do these things. Now, just keeping an eye on the storm. Like I say, we've got to be a bit careful as we go, because on the bushwalk, Craig is a walking lightning conductor, so I don't really want him to get struck, so I'm just keeping an eye over my shoulder. So Lou says we can go across to Jamie, and so that we don't get Craig struck by lightning, and see how she's doing.
We definitely don't want Craig to be struck by lightning. Is that an imminent threat? Because in that case, I think we should start making our way back towards the west as well. Oh, there's this really ominous silence, and this dark, dark purple sky. Whew. Well, we haven't had that many big thunderstorms this year. Usually at this time of year we get the real humdingers of a storm, and we get these hot, hot days. The humidity just builds and it breaks in a thunderstorm. The weather's been all peculiar this year. We've had the long days of drizzle, but no proper thunderstorms. Lou, do I need to start heading back towards home? Does Tristan think that Craig's about to get struck? Because in that case, I think we should start. We'll do a quick check of Buffelshoek Dam. I think we've got time for that. Okay, no lightning yet, so we're okay. We'll go check Buffelshoek Dam quickly, see whether Mvula's decided to pop out. Fingers crossed it is him. I would very much like that. Otherwise we're going to start heading towards home. Oh dear, it seems as though the gremlins, despite Cheetah and Brian's combined efforts with Alex, it seems as though the gremlins have bested Taylor and she's having to return back to camp. So nothing's happened to her. She hasn't been washed away yet. She's just racing back home to try and get the Wendy all sorted out and fixed up. Wendy's been playing games with us recently. She did this last night as well. Well, it sounds as though they've found Karula as well, unfortunately in Little Gowrie. Rob in New Jersey, welcome to our sunset safari, where I think your prospects of seeing a sunset are relatively slim. Rob, you want to know how old Mvula is? There is some disagreement as to his exact age. He's quite an old leopard. He's over 10 years old, that we can all agree with. He's broken the tip of his canines. His canines are quite worn down. There's some disagreement as to whether he's around about 12 or slightly older. I honestly have not really spent enough time with Mvula to properly judge or gauge exactly how old he is. He's quite tattered, but that could just be that he's been in a few brawls, a few scraps. He's certainly managed to keep himself very much out of trouble, so he's got the wisdom of an older leopard. He's dodged away from Tingana multiple times. We've seen him sharing a kill with young Sindile, which is an odd behavior for a dominant male. And there was a time where he basically was acting like he'd reached the age of dispersal. So what happens with male leopards is they go through phases. Once they leave their mum, then they become a dispersal male and they move off in search of a territory until they're round about, depending on the circumstances, around about 5 or 6. The quarantine, of course, managed to establish himself at a much younger age, but that might have just been the circumstances surrounding it. Shivambalana may have decided to move off and leave that patch of territory to quarantine. But usually it's around 5 or 6 years old, and they're dominant for potentially 5 years, depending on whether or not any other males come into the area, at which point then they start to wind down and move off into their second dispersal phase. And it seemed as though that was what Mvula was doing. He was seen in the randomest of places, on Arathusa, Simbambili, then all of a sudden he'd go all the way down south towards Malamala. But then in the last year or so, he's pretty much established himself in the northern section of his territory, so around Buffelshoek, and he's been quite happy there. And then all of a sudden recently, he started going south again towards Cheetah Cutline and Gowrie Main, which is to the real southern reaches of his home range. So I don't quite know. I mean, again, I don't know if this is Mvula. It's very difficult to tell by the tracks. It could also be another very skittish younger male called Djuma. And he's called Djuma because he Djumas away from the vehicles. He runs away from the vehicles. There is wonderful news for all of you. I don't know whether Taylor's managed to battle off the gremlins completely or if it is a brief reprieve, but she's back up and running for now.
We are back up and running, and I promise you we weren't slacking off air. Brian and I have been tracking Karula. So it seems as though we're going to head back in that direction again now, because we were hot on her heels. I don't think she's too far away either. So we picked up on her tracks just after we'd left you, after the Warthogs had disappeared, on Gowrie Main. Oh, we've got another vehicle. We need to pull off the road here very quickly. Let's do this. So basically what had happened was, hi everybody, was as we were driving along, we saw a fresh leopard piece of feces, which was very exciting, because I know that Brent had gone up and down Gowrie Main about 100 times this morning, just double and triple checking, making sure that no leopards had crossed in. So I knew straight away when I'd seen that, and it still looked lovely and fresh. And of course, the only time you'll ever hear anybody talking about lovely fresh dung is, of course, us as guides, because it excites us. And then of course there were footprints accompanying it, and down she went along Gowrie Main, and as she got to Shibamo Road, she turned off, and she went and had a drink of water at those southern pans, which is quite exciting. And then I got some news from the east. It sounds like one of Karula's cubs, I'm not sure who, I couldn't quite hear very well, but it seems as though they're not too far from the boundary either. So we're actually going to start moving away back to that side. I'm going to just call it in again. I'm going to be moving back into the area where I last had Karulas and Konzo, around Shibamu. Right, just because I did call myself that I was leaving the area. Just see, Aubrey, I was saying to Aubrey now, he was talking, and I told him exactly where I'd left the last tracks. And he's just said, no, he says it's so difficult to see where she's gone from after she's drank water. Because again, like we had this morning, is that, like Brent was saying, as well as some of the roads, they are lovely and sandy, but they are quite compacted and quite hard, and it doesn't make a good spot to, of course, go tracking, because it doesn't matter how heavy the animal is, they don't leave much of a footprint. And I think that's the case over there. So she's probably just lying up, or she could have even pulled a sneaky and actually jumped back across into Little Gowrie again, because it is right there. So we're uncertain, but let's do a loop back around. We're just going to go this way. But at least Aubrey's there now, and Aubrey's got a tracker, which helps us a lot. It's very difficult. We've got to keep getting in and out of the vehicle, which I absolutely love to do, in order to do a bit of tracking. But he's got a nice big tracker seat on the front of his vehicle, and then William sits on front, and we'll be able to see. But he's actually got the best view in the house. If you ever go on a safari, and when you're at a sundowner stop or morning tea and coffee stop, jump on the tracker seat and have a look, and it's just amazing. Unfortunately, you probably won't be able to do it while the guide is driving you, because it can be quite dangerous. I've fallen off a tracker seat many a times if you're not holding on and not concentrating, but it is an exceptional view. You don't get the front of the vehicle, you've just got all vegetation. It's really quite lovely. Okay, I'm going to pick up the pace a bit. We're going to head back around now, and it's very, very chilly here. Brian and I were saying that the storm it's coming. The lightning's definitely getting closer. You can see the wind has now started to pick up quite a bit. I don't know if we're going to get the rain though, and we've got quite a while to go still. I think another hour, maybe another 45 minutes. See, it's still blue skies down that way in front of us, but as soon as you turn back and you head back south again, the weather gets a little bit daunting. My goodness, Jamie's done lots of traveling this afternoon. She's started in the western corner, and now she's well almost in the far east. She's arrived at Buffelshoek Dam. I wonder what's there waiting for her.
I don't think I checked the western corner. Perhaps I'm confused and mistaking where I was. However, Taylor's absolutely correct. We've done some traveling. We've come all the way to Buffelshoek Dam. I'm going to just check it very quickly, but there's now this distinct wind that is blowing in and starting to make me feel a little bit nervous. So we're going to, as soon as we've checked Buffelshoek Dam, we're going to start racing for home. And I mean racing. We're going to be putting our foot down, because I think this could come in quite quickly. And once again, Jamie proves that she should never predict anything to do with the weather. No, it will only hit tonight, says Jamie. Yeah, that's why nobody should ever listen to me about my predictions as to what the weather's going to do. Okay, Mvula, please be on the dam wall. Please? Okay, no? It was worth asking. Anything in Buffelshoek? Negative. Lots of water. Plenty of water in one of our favourite water holes when it actually has water in it. But no leopard chilling out next door to it. Mvula loves this place. He likes to sleep on the dam wall or just next to the water hole. But I see no sign of him. Admittedly, I am moving relatively quickly. Quick check. No, let's go. And very good question from JC Charles, because yes, there is stuff that animals do to indicate that there is going to be a storm. A lot of them disappear. A lot of a lot of the antelope tend to go ducking into underneath bushes, into slightly more sheltered areas. Elephants are the ones that I always find fascinating, and I've told the story a few times, but it is a sighting. I was just sitting with my parents overlooking a river, and we had a whole herd of elephants enjoying their meal of the soft reeds, and all of a sudden, without warning, it was kind of just a flat grey overcast day, no rumbles of thunder, nothing. All of a sudden, these elephants got up and sprinted. There was rumbling between all of them, and then they were running up the bank and out of the river. And as they did that, the world went white, and there was a massive, massive lightning strike and crack of thunder at exactly the same time. So it was on top of us. Lions have gone, and that's where they went to Buffelshoek. So elephants are aware of that sort of build-up of electricity. And of course there's lots of stories of birds flying when they know that there's going to be a massive storm, flying away from an area. Generally not when we get a thunderstorm like this. I mean, this is not the sort of weather that will provoke that kind of response. But definitely with that sighting with those elephants made me feel a lot more comfortable if I was around elephants during a storm, just watching what they did. I'm going to start racing for home and make sure that our VR equipment is covered up. So while we do that, let's go over to Taylor.
We're going to try and stick out on the storm as long as we can. It's not, you know, I'm not convinced just yet. I'm going to be optimistic, and I think we've still got a bit of time to go. The weather's definitely changed. The wind is... Have a listen. Oh, it's not even so bad when I stop moving now. It's just a gentle breeze. But there's definitely now a bit of wind. You can see the dark clouds coming in. And we haven't heard any thunder now for a couple of minutes. So I wonder what's going on. We'll just have to wait and see. But we haven't even felt a spit just yet. I will see. We're just about to jump onto Shibamo Road, where we will continue searching around, and otherwise we'll hang around quite close to Gowrie Main and hope that whichever cub of garudas we're seeing will make an effort to cross and come north into Vuyatela, which will be perfect. That would be absolutely ideal. I'm just trying to think. We've driven these roads so many times now. Did anybody come down there? Yeah, it looks like somebody's done Willemon's cut line already. I think let's go back down Shibamo. Hang on. There's Aubrey. Oh, an elephant. That's why. That's exactly. Oh, we saw him earlier. I forgot to tell you. We saw a young Ellie bull when we first picked up on just after we picked up on Karula's tracks. We will get him now. So we had him, and he's a young bull, but he didn't want to really hang around. He seems to be a little bit shy, so we might catch him just out here. Let's take a quick look at him. It's strange now not seeing breeding herds or elephants everywhere. Come on, boy, you're going to have to walk out of that thicket. I'll try to get up in front of him. There we go. We shall get a view of him now. He might come straight towards us. Now, Ankar, as we wait for this Ellie to pop out, which he will do so. Here we go. You can just see the top of his head now coming out on the right. You've asked if the elephants or any animals will communicate with each other and warn each other if there's a storm coming. I'm sure they do in some way. Obviously, it's very difficult for us to try and figure this out because we can't really understand the animals other than trying to pick up on their behavior. But you can see he's zigzagging. Why are you zigzagging, boy? But the birds, you know what's something we have noticed? We've seen all the big raptors. They have perched themselves up onto the top of trees, and they often do that when the big rains are coming. So they'll just find a spot, settle in, and then we'll just hold the fort. You go back, I'll reverse for you. You can have another look at this elephant. We'll probably only get one more look at him before he disappears. It's okay, big boy. Why are you so nervous? I don't blame elephants for being a little bit nervous around storms. They don't seem to enjoy lightning and thunder very much. But with very sensitive ears like they do, can you imagine when a big thud of thunder lets off? It must be quite intimidating, especially when, well, you've got the hearing. Oh, there I felt my first drop. When you have the hearing of an elephant. I think it must be very, very daunting. So I think he's probably going to go down into this big drainage system that runs through Philemon's Dip, and probably will seek a little bit of shelter out there, which will probably be the best spot to go, is hide in a drainage system, unless we have a downpour of rain. And remember, we've had so much rain at the moment that the water tables are quite high. You've seen how full the dams are. The soils are probably still very, very moist, and this could be a bit of a problem. So if we do get 100 mils of rain in an hour, that would probably cause flash flooding. So we must be careful and not get ourselves stuck in any of these river crossings, or decide to go driving down the Mulwati, because you never know. I've heard many, many stories of guides, you know, out on foot tracking in the riverbeds, and there's been rain somewhere else, and all of a sudden, well, the rivers open up and come gushing down towards them. And there's been some really, really horror stories of people getting washed away when it was a nice sunny day. But of course that doesn't stop the water racing down. If it was pouring with rain only a couple of kilometers away from where they are, it happens quite often. Luckily for us, there's not too many river systems around here. There actually aren't really any. The Mulwati is more like a big drainage line than anything. I've never seen it flow, and a couple of people who haven't seen it flow. Should we go and have a quick look at the hyena den? What do you think, Brian? Let's go and look. We're here, we're right here, we might as well. It might be the last thing that we see before we have to go back home. Right, along we go. This road is going to become worn very, very quickly. The amount of activity that'll be happening around here. Oh, hang on, there's a little common dacre. No! There it was! You just saw it bounding away. It very quickly was a common dacre, but as soon as they feel like they've been spotted, then they race off. They don't hang around. Okay, let's try and avoid these trees. Hello, Pavlog Death Dog. That's a bit of a tongue twister. We're wondering why we use the local names for the animals on the radio. Oh, you know, it's just sort of... oh, hang on, there's a vehicle here. Let me just stand by. Okay, I'm just listening to this other vehicle that's here. We'll just give them a bit of time with the hyenas. I didn't realize there was anyone here. So... one of the main reasons is it's not to try and hide any sightings from you. It's sort of well, what it used to be. It's not so common these days. I found myself speaking more English on the radio. It just depends who I'm also talking to. Will mean what language I'm going to use. So basically what happened was, remember when people first started arriving in Africa, there was no one could speak either of the languages. The locals down here couldn't speak English, and the Europeans coming in couldn't speak the different languages that were spoken down here. So they would communicate with trackers sort of by hand signals and well, I suppose different ways, and eventually one of the two of them would have picked up on their language. So that's what it used to be, was that the Europeans, we would learn the local language and try our best to communicate with our trackers, which would be vitally important because they'd be the ones that be tracking down food. They weren't tracking to have a viewing pleasure like we are for education or anything. They were purely tracking down animals so that they could shoot them so that they had something to eat. So it was very, very important, of course, for them to learn that. And then it's just become a rite of passage as you become a guide. You try and learn as much of the local language as you can. Some are much better than others, and then that's what you chat about. Like I said, I find myself speaking more English. It's just depending who I'm talking to. Now, I don't want to put two vehicles in this sighting. We're going to leave it as a one vehicle sighting because we don't really know how old those cubs are, and they're still tiny, they're still black, and we don't want to intimidate them, so we'll give them a bit of room. And as soon as this vehicle is done over there, we will then pop in. So we'll just sit tight, we'll hang tight just for the moment. I don't know how long he will... actually, I think let's head on out. Hang on, he's starting again. So I'm not sure if he's just maneuvering to try and get a better view. Yeah, I think he is. I'm just signaling that I'm not going to come. We won't put two vehicles there, we'll leave it as a one vehicle sighting. Okay. What we might actually do is, Brian, do you think we need to put our rain covers on? What do you think? Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay. We're still good. There's a couple of little spitters and spatters, but nothing too bad. Just want to let them know. Mobiles, can we keep that in PC Kaya a 1 vehicle lock, please? I'll come in when you're finished. And just let them know. We're just with those cubs being so young, there's no need to put any pressure on that mom, even though they seem to be very relaxed. You saw them running around. Okay, hang on, we can go back in now. And Abel has kindly said that his guest just wanted to have a very quick look, so we're gonna go back in now. We'll let him come past. Oh.
Here comes the rain.
Yes. Just quickly listening, the rain is now spitting. You can see those big clouds forming. Oh yes, we're going to have to put rain covers on before we go into this hyena den. Right, there goes Abel. Abel, thanks Abel. Right, let me just see. Louise, do you copy me? Let's just see. Louise, we have to put rain covers on, which will require us to jump out of the vehicle. Okay, right, everyone, you're going to watch us put rain covers on now. You're going to hear lots of strange noises. Okay, here we go. I don't know who I'm going across to, but I suspect I'm going across to Jamie as she makes her way back. But we're going to make one big noise putting these covers on, and I don't want to disturb you, so let's go across to Jamie.
Oh, fair enough. I know the feeling, Taylor. I have not got my dashboard cover on, and I don't know where it is. It is not where I thought it was, which is most distressing. I really honestly thought I had a complete rain cover kit, but it appears as though I do not, which is most concerning. In the bag, there it is. The one piece that was in the bag still. Here we go. Sorry, you'll just have to put up with me and my rain cover as well now. As the drops start to fall. 1 or 2 big drops have already landed on us. Here we go. Get the Velcro down. Ta-da! All sorted. Now there's a vehicle coming across, was looking as though it was going to come across the dam wall. I'm just going to let them go across. Where is it? Oh. Fortunately, I'm wide awake, but the allergy tablets haven't kicked in yet. Okay, let's go see what's happening at Voyatilla Dam. Get us nice and close to home so that we can escape if we need to. Stephanie, absolutely, the sky does not look friendly in the slightest. It looks most unfriendly. It looks the exact opposite. In fact, this is the Grinch of all skies. Does that make any sense? Oh, duh. Okay. They can go first. That's where I was waiting. I heard the sound of the vehicle and I thought they'd gone the other way. There's definitely not room for 2 of us on that damn wall. Okay, backwards we go. This drive has not gone according to plan. This weather is definitely a surprise. Okay, let's let them move out of our way. Okay, here I can see the start of the flashes of lightning as well. There is one Impala very far away. One Nyala bull outside the main camp. Oh, and there might be some zebra as well. That'll be a nice surprise. I haven't seen a zebra in a long time. Sorry, I'm just waiting patiently for this other vehicle to go. There we go. Okay, let's go look at the zebra. At it from a slightly closer angle. Here we go. There's another big drop. How's your camera doing back there, VM? Fine for now. Okay. As you can see, we have wrapped up. I say we like it was a team effort, but the VR rig is now thoroughly wrapped up and protected in bright blue. So that should be absolutely fine. Sorry, VM, you were right. Half an hour it was before it. Sorry, we want to go get the roof. I don't want to be out here when the rain comes properly because of the lightning. That's my biggest concern. I don't think the roof's going to protect us all that much. I did. I definitely saw some lightning. I definitely heard some thunder as well. Mindwarp, you say that you don't know if it's possible, but it looks worse than the cyclone did. I agree. It does look more sinister, so it looks slightly more threatening. And of course, I mean, our cyclone dissipated when it hit us, and it skirted us, so we didn't really get the full effect of it. We didn't get the full brunt. But it certainly looks more ominous than it did when Nat.Geo was blowing in. Nat.Geo was actually quite pretty with the rainbow and the clouds. It was all very, very attractive looking. Okay, VM is suggesting that we go and get the roof quickly. Here's some zebra. Here we go. Hello, wildebeest. Here we go. Here comes the pitter-patter of the rain. At least we've got a lovely zebra sighting to keep us occupied for now. 2 young males, it looks like. 2 zebra stallions. Formed together in a bachelor herd where they can practice their skills. I'm telling the difference between... Oh, hello. Sorry, my monitor was covered. I didn't even realize you were looking at the wildebeest. Very common to see wildebeest and zebra together as well. They like different parts of the same grasses. They quite enjoy grazing together. Okay. VM is busy getting the camera cover unwrapped for when this does start to hit. So much for Graham's prediction that it was going to happen at 9. There we go. Camera cover's going on. Sorry, everybody. It was not optional. As it does, the rain is starting to get heavier. And we're going to get ourselves thoroughly covered up and probably go off in search of a roof for now. While we do, it seems as though Taylor's arrived at the hyena den.
We are back at the hyena den. I've got my raincoat, and look who has just popped out to join us. Brian's trying to get his hands under the rain cover now, which is always one of the most difficult things. You can just see them. They're suckling at the moment. I think I need to... should I reposition? What I'll do is let me turn my nose a little bit to the right. So at the moment, we have to start this process of course, trying to get the cubs used to... It's okay, little ones. And every time you start the engine, they do get a little bit of a fright, but then they relax. So I'm just going to turn my nose just slightly away from them. You can see we're quite a distance away. It's okay, guys. And there we go. Now we should get a better view of them as they come out to suckle. And the one thing you want to remember when you're doing stuff like this is that we're lucky. We don't need to get close, and you shouldn't be getting too close when you are approaching a new den like this. Talking is okay because they need to get used to the sound of your voices, so that's fine. And of course, starting up the vehicle and turning it off, well, it's inevitable because we need to do that to be able to, of course, move the car. And so they will be a bit nervous for the first couple of days, maybe even the first few weeks. But eventually, like we see with the lions and leopards, they'll become completely oblivious to that sound. Oh, and aren't they just so precious? I haven't seen little hyena cubs that are still black, I don't know, for about a year now. When I first started working in the Southern Sand, we had an active den. And there were quite a few little cubs running around too of various ages. There were some really tiny ones and then some older ones that had just started getting their spotted coat. And then we didn't have another one. But we had so many lions and things around that moved into the southern sector of the reserve too. Oh, look at that. That's very sweet. So I wonder if it wasn't them that pushed them out, but they used to use the same den over and over again. Oh, little one, you're trying to get in there. They still like they're funny because they're wobbly on their feet. Look at that, just jumping across, not minding at all. Now, Shannon, you've asked that will these hyenas be okay if there is a big downpour? I think so. They'll be fine. They've got a nice shelter, and I don't think that they'll get too much water in that warthog burrow. It should be all right. They'll probably just head straight inside there, and we'll seek shelter there until the storm passes. And then, like you see, it gets quite hot inside there. She'll probably come out again once the rain passes. Hello, little ones. This is so precious. But the rain is now coming down. It's not heavily, but it's definitely starting to drizzle. And we'll see how long she will take until she decides to move back under cover. Okay, so it seems like Jamie's putting the roof on her vehicle, which is wonderful. Because we might not even get any lightning and thunder now. But for the moment, we're all right. We'll sit with these guys for as long as we can. Isn't this exciting? I can't believe it. I cannot believe that finally we've been waiting and waiting for one of the hyenas to decide to use a den, and they have. That is so fantastic. So well done to Herbie and James for actually finding it on a bushwalk. If it wasn't for them, we probably wouldn't even know that this was even here. Well done. Well done, team. Now, Vervet, you've asking how old these cubs are. Now, it's difficult to try and age them. I'm not sure how old Jamie said they were, but I reckon that they're only a few weeks old. I will go with maybe, I'm going to say about 3 weeks. But like I said, I'm not sure what Jamie has said. Jamie is actually the hyena queen, and she spent a lot more time with hyenas than I have. So she might be a little bit, I think she's definitely better than what I am at guessing the age. But we'll ask her. Okay. I think Louise says she thinks that Jamie said about a month. So somewhere around there, about 3 or 4 weeks or so. They're not very old. Not at all. And it's just going to be amazing to watch them grow as well. So I hope that no lions and things come to bother them, because that will be not good for this lovely lady, seeing as though she's on her own as well. She hasn't even got any other family members living with her, which can be, well, a little bit of a problem for her if she is posed with a big threat, like a pride of lions moving through here. And at one point, if this was a few months ago, the Ngahumas were living around here all the time, and so was Karula. Karula was also out and about. Though I don't know if Karula would bother them too much. I think she's got her cubs that she needs to watch out for, so she'll probably be a little bit more, well, a bit more cautious and probably avoid an area like this. There's actually a smell that you can smell off of this, from this termite mine. Can you smell it, Brian? Mm-hmm. No, I smelled it when we came in. It smells like a hyena-ish smell, but stinky. And I don't know how to describe a hyena smell. It's more like wet dog versus versus wild dogs, which are very sweet. That's what the hyenas always smell like to me. Just damp and dirty. But these two are happy, cuddling away, having a suckle, until their bellies are nice and full. And then I'm sure that they will go back into their burrow. Hey, little ones. I'm sure that you're all so excited about these two. And I know James will be excited to come back and have a look at them. And I'm sure that Tristan is also itching and can't wait for his turn. We should have do rock, paper, scissors now back at camp to decide who's going to get to come to the hyena den. But luckily Jamie was very kind, and I didn't even have to play her at that, because I'm terrible at that game. and she said that I could come and have a look at them. I know that Aubrey was also quite interested in coming to this den, so what we will do is, I think he wants to come now before this rain hits us hard, so I think we'll give Aubrey a chance to come in now. Just wanted to pop in and check that our two little favorite critters were doing all right. Oh my goodness, the team has been busy. Jamie's putting on a roof, and Tristan has managed to set up the tent in lightning speed, so let's go and take a look and see if he's nice and dry and cozy.
I am dry and cozy, and that's because it hasn't started raining yet, Taylor. So luckily for me, we got back just in time. It was a bit of a race to get back here before the rain started, but luckily we are in the